भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. So we are continuing the 15 chapters, which is entitled The Pandavas to Retire Timely. And what is the time? The time when Lord Krishna, he disappeared. So that was an indication for the Pandavas. And here Arjuna is remembering the special privilege that Krishna gave to all the Pandavas. In each and every situation of tribulation and difficulty, how they were rescued by Krishna. We did the 12th verse yesterday, that the day before yesterday. So I'll continue with the 13th. Tatreva me viharato bhujadanda yugman gandiva lakshanam arati vadhaya deva sendra shrita yat anubhavitam ajamidha teneham adya mushita purushena bhauma. When I stayed for some days as a guest in the heavenly planets, all the heavenly demigods, including King Indradev, took shelter of my arms, which were marked with the Gandiva bow to kill the demon called Nivata Kocha. Nivata Kocha. O king, descendant of Ajamid, at the present moment I am bereft of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by whose influence I was so powerful. So Arjuna is remembering all the great favors done by Krishna. He was so much favored by Krishna that even the demigod seeked his help. And the incidents which is mentioned here is, have you heard of this demon? Nivat Kwacha. Nivata Kwacha. Anyone? How Arjuna killed this demon Nivata Kwacha. And Yudhishthira Maharaj is being addressed here as descendant of King Ajamedha. The heavenly demigods are certainly more intelligent, powerful, and beautiful, and yet they had to take help from Arjuna because of his Gandiva bow, which was empowered by the grace of Lord Sri Krishna. The Lord is all powerful, and by his grace, his pure devotee can be as powerful as he may desire. And there is no limit to it. And when the Lord withdraws his power from anyone, he is powerless by the will of the Lord. Anyone knows about this demon? Nivata Kwacha? Anyone has heard? I am also hearing for the first time. सुना क्या आप में से किसी ने? Who will find out? Who is good at research?
Hi, Prabhuji.
Who will find out who is this Nivata Kwacha and how the demigods were put into difficulty by this demon, and they asked for help from Arjuna. Bolo, who will find out? Who will make an effort? अक्षय कुमार, आप सुन रहे हैं? ठीक है,
जी प्रभु, हरे कृष्ण।
आपको प्रेजेंटेशन वगैरह तो देना नहीं पड़ा, तो आप कम से कम ये ढूंढिए, ये असुर कौन है निवत कोचा और क्या पास
जी
टाइम है। ठीक है,
जी प्रभु।
ओके, मूविंग फॉरवर्ड। यद बांधवा कुरु बलाब्धिम अनंत पारम एको रथेन तत्र हम अतीर्य सत्वम प्रत्यार्थम बहुदानम च माया परेशान तेजस्पदम मणिमायम च हितम शिरोभ्या। The military strength of the Kauravas was like an ocean in which there dwelled many invincible existences, and thus it was insurmountable. But because of his friendship, I, seated on the chariot, was able to cross over it. and only by his grace was I able to regain the cows and also collect by force many of the king's helmets, which were bedecked with jewels that were all sources of all brilliances. So the Kauravas side was much more in number, not only in number, in the numeric number, but the strength of each of the warrior could also not be equaled by the Pandavas side. Still, Arjuna was able to conquer them. So Arjuna is feeling this gratitude in his heart. On the Kaurava side, there were many stalwart commanders like Bhishma, Drona, Kripa, and Karna. And their military strength was as insurmountable as the great ocean. And yet it was due to Lord Krishna's grace that Arjuna alone sitting on the chariot could manage to vanquish them one after another without difficulty. There were many challenges of commanders on the other side. But on the Pandava side, Arjun alone on the chariot, driven by Lord Krishna, could manage the whole responsibility of the great war. Similarly, when the Pandavas were living at the palace of Virat incognito, the Kauravas picked a quarrel with the king Virat and decided to take away his large number of cows. While they were taking away the cows, Arjuna fought with them incognito and was able to regain the cows along with some booty taken by force. The jewel sets on the turbans of the royal order. Arjuna remembered that all this was possible by the grace of the Lord. Yo Bhishmo Karna Guru Shal Chamuswa Adbara Rajanya Varya Ratha Mandalam Manditashu Agricharo Vibhoratha Yuthapanam Ayurmanamsi Chadrisha Saho Ojarchat. In the battlefield, it was he only who drew the duration of life, speculative power, and strength of enthusiasm from everyone in the great military phalanx made by the Kauravas, headed by Bhishma, Drona, Karna, Shalya, etc. Their arrangement was expert and more than adequate. But he, Lord Sri Krishna, while going forward, did all this. The absolute personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, expands himself by his plenary Paramatma portion in everyone's heart. And thus he directs everyone in the matter of recollection, forgetfulness, knowledge, and the absence of intelligence, and all the psychological activities. Prabhupada just quoted the verse. Very important verse. Matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha. As the Supreme Lord, he can increase or decrease the duration of the life of a living being. Thus the Lord conducted the battle of Kurukshetra according to his own plan. He wanted that battle to establish Yudhishthir as the emperor of this planet. And to facilitate this transcendental business, he killed all who were on the opposite party by his omnipotent will. The other party was equipped. Akshay, don't move the cursor. Akshay, can you see something moving on the screen?
Yes, Prabhuji. Some line is coming.
Line is coming or some. Akshay, it is coming from your side.
ये
तो
सॉरी
आप
प्रभु जी
हाँ देखिए आपका माउस है क्या, आप कैसे देख रहे हैं? मोबाइल फोन में देख रहे हैं या लैपटॉप में देख रहे हैं? Anyway, he killed all those who were on the opposite party by his omnipotent will. The other party was equipped with all military stand, supported by big generals like Bhishma, Drona, and Shalya. And it would have been physically impossible for Arjuna to win the battle had the Lord not helped him by every kind of tactics. Such tactics are generally followed by every statesman, even in modern warfare. But they are all done materially by powerful espionages, military tactics, and diplomatic maneuvers. Espionage means jasusi. Military tactics and diplomatic maneuvers. Kootaniti. But because Arjuna was the Lord's affectionate devotee, the Lord did all this himself without personal anxiety by Arjuna. That is the way of the devotional service to the Lord. Yaddoshu ma panihitam guru bhishma karna niptartigartha salasanedeva balikadhya अस्त्राणि अमोघ महिमानि निरूपितानि नोपस्पृशुर् नरहानि दासम इवासुरानि. Great generals like Bhishma, Drona, Karna, Bhurishrava, Susharma, Shalya, Jayadratha, and Bahilika all directed their invincible weapon against me. But by his grace, Lord Krishna's grace, they could not even touch a hair on my head. Just as the demon could not affect Prahlad Maharaj, the supreme devotee of Lord Narsimdev, with the weapons they used against him. The history of Prahlad Maharaj, the great devotee of Narsimhadev, is narrated in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Prahlad Maharaj, a small child of only 5 years, became the object of envy for his great father Hiranyakashipu, only because of his becoming a pure devotee of the Lord. The demon father employed all his weapons to kill the devotee son, Prahlad. But by the grace of the Lord, he was saved from all sorts of dangerous actions by his father. He was thrown into fire, into boiling oil, and from top of a hill, and underneath the leg of an elephant, and he was administered poison. At last, the father himself took up a chopper to kill his son. And thus Narsimdev appeared and killed the heinous father in the presence of the son. Thus, no one can kill the devotee of the Lord. Similarly, Arjuna was also saved by the Lord. Although all dangerous weapons were employed by his great opponents like Bhishma. Karna, born of Kunti, the sun god, by the sun god, prior to her marriage with Maharaj Pandu. Karna took his birth with bangles and earrings, extraordinary sign of an undaunted hero. In the beginning, his name was Vasusena. But when he grew up, he presented his natural bangles and earrings to Indradev, and thenceforward, he became known as Vaikartana. Vaikartana. After his birth from the maiden Kunti, he was thrown into the Ganges. Later, he was picked up by Adhiratha, and he and his wife Radha brought him up as their own offspring. Karna was very charitable, especially towards the Brahmanas. There was nothing he could not spare for a Brahmana. In the same charitable spirit, he gave in charity his natural bangles and earrings to Indradev, who, being very much satisfied with him, gave him in return a great weapon called Shakti. He was admitted as one of the students of Dronacharya, and from the very beginning there was some rivalry between him and Arjuna. Seeing his constant rivalry with Arjuna, Duryodhana picked him up as his companion, and this gradually grew into greater intimacy. He was also present in the great assembly of Draupadi's Swayamvar function, and when he attempted to exhibit his talent in the meeting, Draupadi Mother declared that Karna could not take part in the competition because of his being the son of a Shudra carpenter. Although he was refused in the competition, still when Arjuna was successful in piercing the fish target on the ceiling and Draupadi bestowed her garland upon her, Arjuna, Karna and other disappointed princes offered an unusual stumbling block to Arjuna while he was leaving with Draupadi. Specifically, Karna fought with him very violently, but all of them were defeated by Arjuna. Duryodhana was very much pleased with Karna because of his constant rivalry with Arjuna, and when he was in power, he enthroned Karna as the state of Anga. Being baffled in his attempt to win Draupadi, Karna advised Duryodhana to attack King Drupad, for after defeating him, both Arjuna and Draupadi would be arrested. But Dronacharya rebuked them for this conspiracy. and they refrained from the action. Karna was defeated many times, not only by Arjuna, but also by Bhimasena. He was the king of the kingdom of Bengal, Odisha, and Madras combined. Later on, he took an active part in the Rajasuri sacrifice of Maharaj Yudhishthir, and when there was a gambling between the rival cousins designed by Shakuni, Karna took part in the game, and he was very pleased when Draupadi was offered as a bet in the gambling. This fed his old grudge. When Draupadi was lost in the game, he was very enthusiastic to declare the news, and it was he who ordered Dushasan to take away the garments of both the Pandavas and the Draupadis. He asked Draupadi to select another husband because being lost by the Pandavas, she was rendered slave of the Kaurus. He was always an enemy of the Pandavas, and whenever there was an opportunity, he tried to curb them by all means. During the battle of Kurukshetra, he foresaw the conclusive result, and he expressed his opinion that due to Lord Krishna's being the chariot driver of Arjuna, the battle should be won by Arjuna. He always differed with Bhishma, and sometimes he was proud enough to say that within 5 days he could finish the Pandavas if Bhishma would not interfere with his plan of action. But he was very much mortified when Bhishma died. He killed Ghatotkacha with his Shakti weapon obtained from Indradev. His son, Vrishashen, was killed by Arjuna. He killed the largest number of Pandavas' soldiers. At last, there was a severe fight with Arjuna, and it was he only who was able to knock off the helmet of Arjuna. But it so happened that the wheel of his chariot stuck in the battlefield mud. And when he got down to set the wheel right, Arjuna took the opportunity and killed him, although he requested Arjuna not to do so. Napta or Bhurishravaha. Bhurishrava was the son of Somadatta, a member of the Kuru family. His other brothers were Salya. Both the brothers and the father attended the Swayamvar ceremony of Draupadi. So Bhurishrava was the son of Somadatta and his brother was Salya. And all three attended the Swayamvar ceremony of Draupadi. All of them appreciated the wonderful strength of Arjuna due to his being the devotee friend of the Lord. And thus Bhurishrava advised the sons of Dhritarashtra not to pick any quarrel or fight with them. All of them also attended the Rajasuya Yagya of Maharaj Yudhishthir. He possessed one Akshauhini regiment of army, cavalry, elephants, and chariots. And all these were employed in the battle of Kurukshetra on behalf of Duryodhana's party. He was counted by Bhima as one of the Yuthapatis. In the battle of Kurukshetra, he was especially engaged in fight with Satyaki, and he killed 10 sons of Satyaki. Later on, Arjuna cut off his hands, and he was ultimately killed by Satyaki. After his death, he merged into the existence of Vishwadeva. Trigarta or Shusharma, son of Maharaj Vridhakshetra. He was the king of Trigarta Desha, and he was also present in the Swayamvar ceremony of Draupadi. He was one of the allies of Duryodhana, and he advised Duryodhana to attack Matsya Desh, Darbhanga. During the time of cow stealing in Viratnagar, he was able to arrest Maharaj Virat, but later Maharaj Virat was released by Bhima. In the battle of Kurukshetra, he also fought very valiantly, but at the end he was killed by Arjuna. Jayadratha, another son of Maharaj Vridhakshetra. Jayadratha is a son of Maharaj Vridhakshetra. And Trigarta and Susharma is also the son of Maharaj Vridhakshetra. So Jayadratha and Susharma are brothers. He was the king of Sindhu Desha, modern Sindh, Pakistan. His wife's name was Dushala. He was also present in the Swayamvar ceremony of Draupadi, and he desired very strongly to have her hand. But he failed in the competition. But from that time, he always sought the opportunity to get in touch with Draupadi. When he was going to marry in Salyadesh, on the way to Kamyavan, he happened to see Draupadi again, and he was very much attracted to her. The Pandavas and the Draupadi were then in exile. After losing their empire in gambling, the Jayadratha thought it wise to send news to Draupadi in an illicit manner through Poti Shashya, one of his associates. Draupadi at once vehemently refused the proposal, but Jayadratha was so much attracted by the beauty of Draupadi that he tried again and again. Every time he was refused by Draupadi, he tried to take away her forcibly in his chariot. And at that first, Draupadi gave him a good dashing, and he fell like a cut root tree. But he was not discouraged, and he was able to force Draupadi to sit on the chariot. This incident was seen by Dhaumya Muni, and he strongly protested the action of Jayadratha. He also followed the chariot, and through Dhatrikya, the matter was brought to the notice of Maharaj Yudhishthir. The Pandavas then attacked the soldiers of Jayadratha and killed them all. And at the last, Bhima caught hold of Jayadratha and beat him very severely, almost to death. Then all but 5 hairs were cut off his head, and he was taken to all the kings and introduced as a slave of Maharaj Yudhishthir. He was forced to admit himself as a slave of Maharaj Yudhishthir before all the princely order. And in the same condition, he was brought before Maharaj Yudhishthir. Maharaj Yudhishthir was kind enough to order him released. And when he admitted to being a tributary prince under Maharaj Yudhishthir, Queen Draupadi also desired his release. After this incident, he was allowed to return to his country. Being so insulted, he went to Gangotri in the Himalayas and undertook a severe type of penance to please Lord Shiva. He asked his benediction to defeat all the Pandavas and at least one at a time. Then the battle of Kurukshetra began and he took sides with Duryodhana. In the first day's fight, he was engaged with Maharaj Drupad, then with Virat, and then with Abhimanyu. While Abhimanyu was being killed mercilessly, surrounded by 7 great generals, the Pandavas came to his help, but Jayadratha, by the mercy of Lord Shiva, repulsed them with great ability. At this, Arjuna took a vow to kill him, and on hearing this, Jayadratha wanted to leave the war field and asked permission from the Kauravas for his cowardly action. But he was not allowed to do so. On the contrary, he was obliged to fight with Arjuna. And while the fight was going on, Lord Krishna reminded Arjuna that the benediction of Shiva upon Jayadratha was that whoever would cause his head to fall on the ground would die at once. He therefore advised Arjuna to throw the head of Jayadratha directly into the lap of his father, who was engaged in penances at the Samant Panchak pilgrimage site. This was actually done by Arjuna. Jayadratha's father was surprised to see a severed head on his lap, and he at once threw it on the ground. The father immediately died, his forehead being cracked in 7 pieces. So these are many, many stories, in Mahabharata. Mahabharata is full of many, many adventurous pastimes and many narratives of these all great generals and soldiers and kings and so many of their peculiar qualities. Most of it they have earned by their severe penances and prowess. Okay, I'll stop here. Very exhausted, very tired. My eyes are almost blinking. A little more services to do. Tomorrow also is a very hectic day. But please put your focus, try your best to distribute books. Some of you are trying very hard, but the others, I don't know how much effort they are you able to put. But please tighten your belts, make an effort. If you will go out and meet people, most of them will, give favorable response. Even if you distribute one book, it is a great success. Keep attempting. Hare Krishna. Any question or any discussion shortly? We see the heart of Arjuna, how it is completely overwhelmed with the gratitude for Krishna. This is what Nimitta Matra Bhava Sabhya Sachi. How he became just an instrument to be used in the service of Krishna. So in our life also we have the opportunity that we can be used as an instrument. But we have to be willing. We have to be wanting to do it. Hare Krishna. I don't see anyone, having any genuine questions. So I'll close it for today and we'll continue further tomorrow. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai God.